It's Christmas time, baby. Put on the Santa hat, put some lights behind me. Yes, I know, I'm not festive right now. I don't have a bunch of Christmas decorations. Is that because I'm lazy? Yes. But during the holidays, normally I pick some obscure, weird holiday movie that ends up being really cringe and stupid. But this year, it's going to be different. It's going to be positivity time, baby. Because this month is the 20th anniversary of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which I just want to mention is the best Christmas movie of all time. Hands down. I know a lot of you are going to start whining. What about Home Alone? What about A Christmas Carol? A Christmas Story? That one with Mickey Mouse in it. Come on.
Oh boy, how I like that.
Look, there's a lot of great Christmas movies, some with Arnold Schwarzenegger in there, but that doesn't matter, okay? Because none of them even compare to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And no, I ain't speaking of the new one with the animation that doo-doo stupid time. No, we're not doing that.
Excuse me, are you getting that?
Look how they mess with my boy.
I'm talking about the bursting of life world of the Who's, the amazing performance of Jim Carrey, the buildings, the design of the town, the extreme relatability of everyone to the Grinch. Not only that, but this movie goes beyond being just a Christmas movie. The commentary on humanity as a whole, commercialism, and all the greed. There's so many cogs to this movie that just mesh together. So let's break down scientifically. No, spiritually. No. Sexually, why this movie is the greatest. Are you guys spending your whole lives watching motivational videos of these dudes absolutely ripped out of their mind telling you the top 3 tips to make a better, healthy life? Are you scrolling through Instagram looking at pictures of models with inspirational quotes underneath them? What if I told you there's a way easier, more consistent way at building healthy habits? I mean, look at me. I've been using Fabulous for almost a month. I am literally glowing with health and happiness. Fabulous is an amazing app that leans you into a more healthy lifestyle without having to uproot your entire life in order to change things. Let's be real, life is busy, and honestly, creating healthy habits is very hard to do. But Fabulous makes everything super simple. It has a very gradual rise in changes to the point that you won't even be realizing that you're actually creating healthy habits before it happens. With the app, you create a routine for the morning, the afternoon, and evening. It'll give you daily coaching. There's challenges that they have on there that you could do, and there's a huge community on the app itself of other people trying to make their lives better. So instead of waiting for the new year to buy that membership at the gym, go there for a week and give up, start small with Fabulous. So click that link in the description to start your way onto becoming a healthier and better person. So to start things out, let's go back to the original Dr. Seuss book of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now we all know the story. The Grinch is a green, angry old man who just hates Christmas, ends up trying to steal it. But something I honestly forgot about is in the original book, the Grinch isn't even green. He's actually just black and white. It wasn't until 1966 where Chuck Jones created an beautiful animated short of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And for the time, it had amazing animation. It's very good, you know, sit down by the fire, drink some hot cocoa type movie. And this is also where the original You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, which was created with the bombastic voice of Boris Karloff, which still to this day is iconic and amazing. And where most people deem this version of the Grinch, you know, the classic, the stamp when it comes to Christmas as a whole, in 1998, Ron Howard released the live action version of the Grinch, which, as we all know, anytime you take something that's animated and plop it into live action, 99% of the time it sucks. And boy, when this movie was released, it received so much flack. Director Ron Howard usually lets his comedies gestate organically, but his Grinch is frantic from start to finish. He gives way to gross out comedy, twisted social riddles, regulars, and entirely invented. This film is an act of love that doesn't quite let me believe the documentary. Yeah, a lot of people weren't happy about it. But ironically, for the reasons that people didn't like it is actually the reasons why this movie is so good. Because they are fools who don't understand art. Because a lot of these complaints really just came from their source of nostalgia and love for the original animated version and even the original book that they read when they were younger. You know, some people felt like it was too adult, some people felt like it was too childish, and some people thought it was too unorganized and frantic and all over the place, which I admit this movie is very frantic in nature, but it is not without reason. I feel like all of these reviews would make a lot more sense if they were centered toward Cat in the Hat. Cat in the Hat and the Grinch are two sides of the spectrum. The Grinch is actually well put together and well made, while the Cat in the Hat's kind of, don't get me wrong, I love Cat in the Hat. It's honestly hilarious. But at the end of the day, it feels like Mike Myers in a cat costume doing a skit show, while as the Grinch is actually a full-fledged movie well put together and masterfully made. So let's take a second here and look at Grinch as a character. Why is he so good? In the original book, the Grinch was kind of made as this grumpy old man who doesn't understand Christmas, kind of just ignorant to the whole situation. In the movie, they expanded on his character way more than it was in the book, which some people complain, oh, just leave it up to your imagination. But come on, it's a movie. At least they didn't do what Cat in the Hat did and give no character depth whatsoever and just add funny, hilarious Mike Myers stuff. And I know a lot of people might get offended by this, but I feel like they made the character way better than the book. Now hear me out. They expanded on what Dr. Seuss was going for. In the original book, it kind of just feels like the Grinch is just bad for the sake of ignorance. However, in the movie, the Grinch actually isn't bad at all once they give him his backstory. He was someone who was bullied and laughed at throughout school because he looked different. He got made fun of because he had facial hair. He got made fun of because he was green, you know, kind of references to society as a whole. So in turn, the Grinch obviously acted out about it a lot. Then one day he got a crush on Martha and he really fell into the Christmas spirit. And he ended up making a gift with his bare hands. Remember that. With his bare hands for Martha that he really liked. Then he tried to shave his face in hopes that it would interest Martha because he got made fun of for his facial hair. It turns out he ended up cutting up his face, getting laughed at school. Once again, even the teacher laughed at him. So he ended up putting all that hatred just into Christmas as a whole. He broke down his walls for a second, took a step outside of that zone, ended up getting punched in the gut and goes back in his hole. So he ends up leaving Whoville and going to the top of the mountain without his adopted parents even caring about it. And let me point this out here. Once again, he made the gift with his hands. The Grinch is actually the most selfless person in the entire movie. Obviously, a bit confusing because the Grinch, you know, he's supposed to be angry, grumpy man who doesn't like Christmas. But the Grinch is the only person in the entire movie who handmade a gift for someone. Throughout the movie, everyone just buys stuff for people. They try to sell stuff to people, and everyone knows that the best gifts you can give are the ones that you made by hand for someone else. It shows your appreciation for them. You put the hours in to do it instead of just buying something with a fancy price tag. And throughout the movie, the Grinch expresses his frustration for commercialism and about everyone buying stuff for everyone. And that's his main complaint throughout the movie. And that's the reason he hates everyone, is everyone just buys stuff for people. They're so self-involved. They don't actually care about people in general. And this is something that we will be talking about later. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the Grinch is the Joker on Christmas. Yeah? No? And I feel like he relates to most of us as people, you know, getting bullied in school, ending up hating people because let's be real, I'm just gonna say it, people kind of suck though, you know? In one way or another, a lot of us get annoyed with the world to the point that sometimes you just want to leave civilization and go up and live on a mountain, you know? The Grinch isn't the villain in this movie. The real villain are the Who's. Throughout this movie, as a child especially, we see the Who's as these people. They're happy-go-lucky, they all love each other, you know, they're getting presents for everyone, they're so appreciative of everything on the surface. But once you start peeling back the layers of the onion, you start seeing the gross stuff inside. Because all of this positivity seems to kind of just be on the surface. Because these people are insanely selfish and insanely materialistic. I mean, in the beginning of the movie, when Cindy Lou almost dies and the Grinch saves her, instead of her father being like, yo, what happened? Are you okay? He is just happy and proud of her that she's practicing her rapping. And he didn't even take the time to listen to her talk about what actually happened. He's just more proud of the fact that she's working on Christmas rapping. Also, the shop that they work at is people shoving each other to the side, trying to grab gifts as fast as possible where they could barely keep up. Basically a reference to Black Friday. I mean, people literally get trampled to death on Black Friday. Or the rivalry of Betty and Martha with their competition of the lights on the houses. They both act like they're buddy-buddy. They give off positive vibes to each other while they talk shit on each other underneath their breath. Betty ends up buying a chandelier that she doesn't need. She ends up telling Cindy Lou to take the light out of the refrigerator in order for her to have more lights. She even steals a traffic light, and in the background you can hear someone wrecking because she stole a traffic light in order to win the competition. And the mayor, which, let's all be real, the mayor is definitely the worst one out of everyone here. He's kind of the source of the materialistic nature of everyone. But when the mayor asks Martha to marry him, his way of convincing her is telling her she could win a new car. And he does all of that in front of the Grinch. Or there's even a part after the Grinch goes on his rant about everyone being selfish and greedy and does his rampage around town. After he destroys the tree and there's a distressed man sitting on the ground, a dude walks up and says, hey, you want to buy a hat? Everyone is so focused on buying and selling and their own selfish desires in this movie. The Who's are genuinely just us as a people. And the Grinch is just someone who's just fed up with everything. It's done so well in this movie that as for kids, you think the Grinch is the bad guy. But as an adult, you start realizing what's actually underneath, which is so freaking cool. Again, I've said this so many times. The best kids movies have something that you could watch when you're 5 years old and love, like the slapstick comedy of Jim Carrey, the outlandish attitude of a lot of the Who's. And also you have the stuff in the future when you're older that you can laugh at as well, that you discover. Like the part where you find out where the Grinch lands, it's actually a swingers party. Or the part where a baby lands in front of this dude's house and he mentions that it looks like his wife's boss. And the list goes on of the many adult jokes that happen in this movie that you don't even catch till you're older. But let's move on to the dynamic duo of the movie, Cindy Lou and the Grinch. So Cindy Lou and the Grinch are honestly the best combination when it comes to characters. They're on both sides of the spectrum, yet at the same time, they're kind of the same person. But for Cindy, she's never dealt with all the hardship that the Grinch has faced. All the bullying, all the name calling, all the stuff that made him hate the world. She's kind of an innocent girl who has the same mindset as the Grinch. Seeing all these people being materialistic throughout the movie, Cindy Lou is noticing all these people are kind of being selfish and says all of these presents and gifts are kind of superfluous. And that's exactly why Cindy Lou was able to break down the walls of the Grinch. Right when she found out that the Grinch ended up saving her from dying from the present thing, if the Grinch wasn't there, honestly, Cindy Lou's dad would have probably just let it happen. But after that, Cindy realized that the Grinch isn't a bad person at all. And the fact that she wasn't scared of him and the fact that she actually cared for him showed him that there's people out there like him. Because the Grinch has this mindset is if he scares off everyone, then he'll never get hurt by people again. He thinks loneliness and being secluded from everyone else and coming off as some monster is way better than going back there and getting bullied by everyone. So Cindy starts breaking down the Grinch's wall and gradually starts convincing him to go to the holiday jubilation. And finally, after some clothing changes and trying to figure out what he wants to wear, Max the dog, who is honestly the best dog in any movie ever, ends up forcing him to go to the holiday jubilation. And right where everything starts looking up, everyone starts treating him like a king, people start treating him well, and he loves all the attention and he starts feeling a lot better about himself, then boom, the mayor kind of shoves it right in his face. For the gift of holiday jubilation, he ends up giving him the gift of a Christmas shave, and everyone just starts busting up laughing at him, which just triggers basically PTSD, and it brings him back to when he was a child and getting bullied. And then right in front of him, even though Martha, you could obviously tell she's very obsessed with the Grinch, because throughout the entire time, Martha's just breathing heavy looking at the Grinch every time she sees him. But anyway, the mayor asks her to marry him in front of the Grinch, and this causes the Grinch to obviously go crazy and destroy a bunch of stuff. So just like what happened in the beginning and what made him go to the mountain happened again. He went out of his box for a second, tried to start being social and talking to people, then boom, get punched in the gut. He's going back in his box, and he's coming back with a vengeance. So obviously we know the whole story. The Grinch decides to attempt to steal Christmas, and his version of stealing Christmas is stealing all the gifts, all the trees, all the ornaments, pretty much everything. And what caught him off guard is even when he's stealing a tree, Cindy Lou ended up waking in the middle of the night. He posed as Santa Claus, and Cindy Lou mentioned that she hopes the Grinch has a good Christmas and she doesn't think he's a bad guy, which obviously hits home for him. And the big turning point for the Grinch and Cindy Lou is after he steals all of the Christmas presents and everything, the townsfolk realize, oh, hey, you know what? We should go back to our roots. Christmas isn't about gifts. Let's all sing together. So in a way, the Grinch never actually stole Christmas. He actually saved Christmas, because it reminded everyone that all these materialistic things, all this commercialism, all these buying gifts for everyone doesn't really matter, because Christmas is really just about hanging out with people you like and love. And you know, his heart grows 3 sizes that day, blah, blah, blah. Which honestly, Jim Carrey's interpretation of this is hilarious, how he's actually in pain from it growing in size. So in the end, the Grinch sees Cindy Lou on top of the thing. He ends up saving her, goes back to the town, gives everybody back his gifts, and everyone starts respecting it. And the mayor kind of gets shunned by the entire town, which thank God. We talked about the comedy a little bit in this movie, but let's talk about Jim Carrey, his comedy. Let's be real. Jim Carrey pretty much carried this entire movie. Carried? No? Okay. This movie is funny. I've watched this for 20 years straight and I still chuckle at this movie. Every time the Grinch is on screen, you really just can't look away. None of these jokes he makes is without purpose. It all feels coherent. Yeah, there is a section of the movie that turns into sort of like a skit show, but it doesn't really feel like a skit show. Mike Myers felt like a skit show. This just felt like the Grinch kind of just riffing because he's lonely and by himself. I feel like the reason the Grinch is so extra when he's by himself with Max is he doesn't have anyone. And also something else that I want to mention that proves that the Grinch is a better person than everyone else. The Grinch is the only one who has a dog. No one has a dog, or at least as far as I've seen, no one has a dog. And let's be honest, dogs are way better than people. Not to mention the hilarity of Martha, because Martha, she's kind of extra AF, if you know what I mean. Her breathy airheadedness starts off as dumb and then wraps around to being charming again. Just the fact that every single time she sees the Grinch, she just starts like breathing super heavy and just getting horny. It honestly makes me feel slightly uncomfortable, but it's hilarious at the same time. And also the musical numbers in this were very good, not gonna lie. Like, sure, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch isn't the original Boris Karloff version, but I feel like it is definitely great because Jim Carrey put on his own personality in there. It fit along with the movie of what he was doing when he was doing the montage of building the Santa sleigh. It all just worked together so perfectly. And you know, we have the Where Are You Christmas that was sang by Taylor Momsen, who at the time was a child. And honestly, I'm glad they didn't like overproduce and make it sound like she's some pop star. It just sounds like a child with an underdeveloped voice who doesn't hit the notes perfectly, which I feel like is great. And something funny about Taylor Momsen is she actually grew up to do music. She's in like a butt rock band now. And it's just her and a bunch of old dudes with beards. And I know I talked about the setting a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about the freaking practical effects of Whoville and the Whovians and the Grinch itself. Holy shit, it's amazing. This is honestly the most immersive universe I've ever seen to ever come out of a Seuss-based movie. Everything feels real. It all feels alive and really well made. And it's surprising to find out that all of the people in this movie weren't actually real people. A lot of times when they have like a huge crowded area, they ended up placing in CGI people here and there that you honestly would never notice unless you really look at it. And all of the buildings were actually made with 7 miles of foam. Also, not to mention the pure torture that Jim Carrey went through putting on the Grinch costume. It took 2.5 hours to put on and an hour to take off. He compared it to being buried alive constantly. That and the makeup and contacts both burned him. They even had to hire a CIA agent who specialized in dealing with torture in order to teach him different methods of dealing with torture. That's the pure dedication that Carrey went through in this movie. And I feel like it shows that Ron Howard's a good director because he himself ended up wearing all of the Grinch makeup throughout one day of filming just so he could understand the pain that Jim Carrey went through, which is awesome for a director to do. And honestly, this might be controversial to say, but I feel like this is probably one of Jim Carrey's best performance, if not the best. I know that's probably crazy to say, but I feel like it is. I'm so glad they went for the wacky, charismatic style of the Grinch instead of just an old man waving his fist at kids to get off his lawn. It's just so much more entertaining to watch. And Jim Carrey honestly just killed it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Grinch is the greatest Christmas movie to ever exist or ever will exist. It's a timeless classic and it always will be amazing. I hope all of you enjoy your holidays. Sit down, have some nice meals, drink some hot cocoa, watch The Grinch with your family together because boy, that's what I'm going to be doing. I mean, my son's a little bit afraid of The Grinch, but oh well. But thank you all once again for watching. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. I know this video is a little bit shorter than normal. I just really wanted to say something about my favorite Christmas movie of all time. I wanted to share some of my personal interest with you guys for a change. I hope you enjoyed it very much and enjoy your holidays. Bye.